I'm delighted to be here with Tonya Amankwatia, who is the Assistant Vice Provost of Distance Ed and Extended Learning at North Carolina A&T. And Tonya, great to be here with you, and always good to see you at conferences. It's been a busy year for higher ed, and I'd just be interested in your thoughts about how things are going at NC A&T and also maybe HBCUs in North Carolina. So
They're very good. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, it has been a busy year. And at North Carolina A&T, we're talking about momentum. We have had a great year of actually transformation and change. We have a new chancellor, and during the welcome, he talked very clearly about lifelong learners and online. And we have experienced our record enrollment, not only for traditional learners, but online, because we have had momentum. So the past school year was all about the Aggie experience and Aggie success. And we have spent, even as a unit, time with our own version of convergence. We're here at UPSEA's convergence, but we had UPSEA actually as a partner with the rest of the campus come together to look at the online student journey map and to talk with our institution about the future of higher ed and the difference in the learner demographics. So like I said, lots of movement around the student experience, understanding their journey map, stood up a new office, a university-wide office of student success, and have made a lot of progress on enrollment coaching and nurturing. So I'm very optimistic about our fulfilling that journey of improving the learner experience to accelerate future growth. So that's the news at A&T. And for HBCUs, there's been a lot of interest in HBCUs, and other HBCUs have also experienced growth. And I think a lot of that is environmental. People like the culture. Psychological safety is a real thing. And so on our campuses, like I like to call it, the I care and you count, and knowing that inclusive excellence is there is important. So one of the things that has been great is the digital leadership network that we HBCUs, some of us started. We're trying to get more. So if anybody else is looking at this, join. So basically what we do is once a semester, we share student success webinars. We've done them on topics important to traditional or post-traditional learners. We've tried polling them. So they've been on things like microaggressions in the workplace, reframing those. We've done them on, investment clubs or strategies, all different types of things, mental wellness. So HBCUs are uniting and getting some much needed support. So very grateful for what's called the Partnership for Education Advancement. And we just call it Ed Advancement, that works with the Thurgood Marshall schools like ours, that has really helped with transformation at A&T in three primary areas at first: facilities, career services, and online. So we're really good about that. So that's the latest at A&T and with some of our HBCUs, and a lot of what's impacting higher ed is kind of rolled into those updates.
something we talked about the other day was culture. And as a hugger myself, I am a hugger. Oh, I should probably hit the microphone, but I'm a hugger. But we were talking about hugging and how there's just such a warmness that happens. It's just part of the culture. And
It is.
I used to work with teachers and talk about, I used to do seminars on special ed and creating better learning environments. And, one of the things that came out of that was people saying, well, everyone has special needs.
Exactly.
Some are more significant than others, but a culture that addresses special needs or a culture that addresses warmness kind of lifts everybody. So can you talk about that culture and why that's important and why you think that makes such a difference?
I think it absolutely makes a difference to help people know that there is not only an institution, but they can see the people behind the institution that respects them and that cares about their story and that is committed to their success. I think from all of the different things that we've been talking about at this UPSEA conference, that culture of caring is what is needed, because one thing that stood out was the opportunity for us as higher education institutions to show the connection to the learner's personal mission and story throughout, not just enrollment, but the attainment, that they make it to the goals. So any expression that shows authenticity, I think, is comforting and empowering. I can't tell you the number of times that I've left our office, because we typically work with the NC Works and the workforce development, online learners, just to go visit campus and interact with the traditional students, who, by the way, do have some shared activities that they do at the online. And that encounter, you stop and ask them, how are you doing? And because of that culture, and knowing that at that HBCU people are invested in their success, one could argue perfect strangers are telling you this, and it's not necessarily any magic that I've done. It's the community and that culture that gives that student the opening to say, well, I'm really stressed out today. And in my case, it's not a surface, how are you doing? So it's stop and pause. And I listened to what she was going through. And then at that moment, we got to solutioning, got on a phone call. Other Aggies picked up and got to what they needed. So there have been times that has ended with hugs or with just saying, oh, I'm so proud of your accomplishment or what you're doing, when I ask what you're doing. And it ends with, a hug, or in my case, a lot of times, a pitching a micro-credential. Hey, do you know that you can, add this to your journey? So any ways that we can show authentically that we're all willing to invest in, it's not just a job, but a personal mission, with the smiles. I think I know, I don't have to think,
Yep.
that people appreciate kindness and grace. I like grace spaces.
How do you take that to the digital or the online world? Because obviously, in person. There's a lot of cues that you can pick up and also give.
Mhm.
How do you transition, or how does that show up in the digital and the online world?
So it shows up in a couple of ways. I'll put a quick PhD hat on and just call out my colleague at East Carolina University who did research on what's called immediacy strategies. So those nonverbal cues that you were talking about, like the nodding and smiling and things that we have here. Patricia Slaughter Van Tryon is her name. Just look up immediacy strategies, E with an E for like electronic,
Yep.
talks about technically how we do that. And the second way I'll talk about it is practically what we do at North Carolina A&T. We actually have regularly scheduled what we call learner check-ins to connect to the students. And it's not all structured time that they don't have an opportunity to tell us, you know, where they are, how they're feeling, what they need. Um, so that's helpful. And then it's, little things. They'll turn on a camera so that you can see. They'll use emoticons. Sometimes we'll poll. Sometimes I have visuals. And I like using, in my case, the ones with shoes. I might have like these military boots with mud all over them. I might have some red high heel pumps, have some, the other ones running shoes. And I can't remember right now what the fourth one is. Oh, slippers or something like at the
Something
beach
comfy.
or flip flops.
Something comfy. Yeah. Yep.
And then just ask them, kind of where they are. So there are different ways that we pull out. So we definitely do the learner check-ins, and we have our faculty and staff, actually mostly the staff, in those support services areas to join us. So the professionalism, whether it's career services, our academic success or academic excellence office, and our library services, all different types of people, military, veterans affairs. So those folks join those. So those are intentional schedulings. We do town halls, and then we to try to get to some of those, how are you doing, like you said, non-verbal cues, etc. Sometimes it's just flash polls, really quick at different times in the semester, and the formal ones, like the focus groups or etc. But then as a group, we also do what I like to call our e-card ministry. So we have these various e-cards that graphic designers have created for the different seasons of life. And then we take those to personalize, to send to students when there's something to celebrate, something to encourage, something to nudge along the journey. And those get sent directly to them as another way to try to create some of that community.
The I care, you count.
I care, you count.
I love that. That's such a great. That's I care, you count. I love that.
Yep.
So it's an Aggie school. There's other Aggie schools in the country. What are some things that you think are unique or important or special that would relate to other Aggie schools in terms of microcredentials and maybe that's different for different regions of the country. I'm sure it is. So what are some microcredential or Aggie microcredential innovations or things you see happening in the horizon?
I love working with our College of Ag. I think that's what you're talking about, that Aggie part.
Yeah.
We have some very innovative instructors. Actually, matter of fact, one of the professors in the College of Ag is responsible for us having our university-wide partnership with one of our more popular micro credentials, or it's a suite of them, and that's the IBM actually skills build micro credentials. And so what happens is, in this particular case, the agricultural course, I don't remember which one it was, but it was a partnership where there was embedded into that course the design thinking IBM micro credential. The students did an authentic project, and IBM and the professor both gave the students feedback. Then they shared the design thinking micro credential with student leadership groups. They invited me to one of the celebration ceremonies, and that's when I found out about it. So then that's how the conversation with IBM started, and we got a suite of skills and micro credentials for the rest of the campus, and we started adding to the portfolio and created something called the A&T Skills Academy. The ag faculty, again, especially Professor Uzo, has come back, and now we have done government partnerships. So we have one with a agency, an ag environmental agency, where we have two of our courses in our traditional portfolio that we're doing to help with creating a professional micro credential for the future of work partnership. And that's hot off the press. That's underway right now. So I really like what's happening, and most of it in this case, it has to do with soils and different things that have to do with environmental justice and waste management, recycling. We have those stackable micro credentials, and that's the College of Ag. They have been remarkable about helping us basically modernize our land grant mission. We had a huge, it was a conference for small farmers, and it was talking about technologies that can be embedded. So I get a lot of inspiration actually from our College of Ag.
Awesome. What are some things from a future standpoint that you see in terms of micro credentials, whether it be for A&T or whether it be for the whole field of higher ed? What do you see in the future in terms of micro credentials?
For micro credentials, I see a future where we start getting to that common vocabulary. I call it coming to terms. I hear that quite a bit. And I am very, very optimistic about these frameworks and the data competency efforts that I've been hearing about. One of the things that I really am hopeful about is that we find a way to really give that credit for prior learning and not to see these as here's something that was developed and I don't trust it. There's the opportunity for the wisdom of the crowd to come in. So you have higher ed researchers and experts in a certain domain. You have the community or the industry partner with the expertise in that domain. And then you have some of the other vendors, just everybody that I think will start to actually build a new trust network, and we will accelerate that acceptance when we can solve for validity, verifiable, relevant, and not just and you get a credential, and you get a credential. Yeah, I love that. Oprah, and you get a car, and you get a car.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
trust is good.
Well, anything you'd like to add in terms of what you're thinking about these days?
Well, I am just one that thinks about the grace spaces that will help us embrace the learner's journey. It's primarily their journeys, and then just creating those from the beginning, even when people don't really know what it is that
Yep.
they like or want. So, some kind of a inventory when we're doing the traditional admissions counseling or admission advising, that there's actually a robust version of that for those alternative pathways where we are listening and focusing on attainment and embracing and respecting learning no matter where it occurs. We dig into it for evidence and follow along and support. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And I know that we will get there. And I'm expecting to be a part of that solution that helps people to just see that holistic competency and celebrate it.
Well, I love the term gray spaces. I love the concept of gray spaces, and this has been a very nice gray space. So thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you very much.
graciousness.